Yeah, welcome everyone. It's the Marijuana Times show for January 2018. Now in glorious HD. That's right. Moving up in the world. How about that? We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Make sure you go to marijuanatimes.org, find myself and a bunch of other great writers talking about all the stuff that you need to know about the cannabis community and the industry. You can also find these videos there as well. You can also find these videos if you search the Marijuana Times on YouTube or the Facebook. Of course, if you just want an audio version of the show, as many do if they're on the go, make sure you check out Apple Podcasts. Search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts, formerly known as iTunes, and find the show. A lot of stuff to talk about today. As I said, Ron Paul has weighed in on the fallout continues from what Jeff Sessions did last week about rescinding the Cole Memo and leaving the door open for U.S. attorneys to go after marijuana in states where it is legal and go after the marijuana industry. Ron Paul weighed in on that. Also more about Jeff Sessions' decision and how it may affect legalization going forward when it comes to legalization on the federal level. Also a marijuana dispensary in Las Vegas is something huge as far as their food drive goes. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up. First, I have to tell you that the Marijuana Time Show is brought to you. The HD's throwing me off, I'll admit it. It's throwing me off a little bit. I don't know why. Hasn't really changed anything. One has a little bit as far as the dynamics of running the show go. I keep looking up here, I'm like, what? That seems unnecessary. All of this, so clear, it seems unnecessary. No, this is my low self-esteem talking. It's fine. It's fine. In any case, the Marijuana Times show is brought to you by NatureSideCannabis.com. You know the answer to that. The end of that sentence. NatureSideCannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show, of course. Organic, all-natural pesticides. If you're a cannabis cultivator, if you are in California or Colorado, Oregon or Washington or wherever you are, and you're cultivating cannabis legally, you want to check out NatureSideCannabis.com. They can help you become regulatory compliant. They can also make sure that you're not putting harmful chemicals in your grow that you're selling to people. NatureSideCannabis.com. The organic all-natural pesticides, that's what you need. Grow safe and poison-free with NatureSideCannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show. Our first story comes from marijuanatimes.org. Former Congressman Ron Paul calls Attorney General Jeff Sessions un-American. This is a story that I wrote over at marijuanatimes.org. The reaction and the feedback and the blowback and the pushback from Jeff Sessions and what he did last week has been coming fast and furious, to borrow a phrase from a very popular movie franchise, which I often do. It's my fallback position. When in doubt, borrow a phrase from a movie. So all of this has been rolling in. It goes across the political spectrum. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, Green Party, everybody is criticizing Jeff Sessions for what he did last week. Ron Paul is, of course, a former congressman, Republican congressman from Texas. All of his ideology, if you want to call it that, is very libertarian. Hardcore libertarian, some people would say. I would be one of those people, actually. Also, he was a presidential contender in 2008 and 2012. He's really one of the people that got me involved in politics more. I was already an observer of politics and a follower of politics, but actually to get in and to root for someone and to stand for something and to take what you stand for and put it in front of people and explain it to people, Ron Paul is really the person that started that journey for me. He calls what Jeff Sessions is doing un-American. He said, quote, "He represents something that is so un-American as far as I'm concerned." Paul said this in a interview with CNN. He said, quote, "The war on drugs to me is a war on liberty. I think we overly concentrate on the issue of the drug itself, and I concentrate on the issue of freedom of choice on doing things that are of high risk. and we permit high risk all the time. Generally, we allow people to eat what they want, and that is very risky. But we do overly concentrate on what people put into their bodies. If you don't know Ron Paul and what his feelings about marijuana, he doesn't think you should smoke marijuana. Ron Paul does not think if you have a choice between using marijuana and not using marijuana, he doesn't think you should choose to use marijuana, which is fine. As I've said many times before, and many other people have said, that's perfectly fine. You can have that opinion. For whatever reason, you don't think people should do marijuana. That's great. But he's also of the opinion that the government shouldn't regulate what we do in the privacy of our own homes. If we want to go home and smoke a joint as opposed to drinking a bottle of wine or whatever, or a glass of wine, then that's what we should be able to do. He went on to predict that Sessions, if he does plan to initiate some kind of crackdown, excuse me, against the legal marijuana industry in states where it's legal, that's not going to work. The tax revenue is too big. There's already state lawmakers, governors, attorneys generals, people of Congress, members of Congress, coming out of the woodwork to say that they're going to fight if there is some sort of crackdown against legal marijuana. So that's what will happen, and he predicts that if Sessions does initiate a crackdown through the U.S. attorneys, that it will not be successful, and he's probably right about that. As I've said, there's already been a bunch of pushback, and it's showing U.S. attorneys that this is not the route they want to go. This is not, if they should focus on other things, is basically the message that we're trying to get through. And it's not a winning strategy. To go after marijuana is not going to get them any votes at the ballot box or any donations as far as coming into the GOP, as far as rich donors and things like that. So what is the point? There is no point other than Jeff Sessions just really, really, really doesn't like marijuana. And he does not think that you should be doing the marijuana. This next story comes from Politico magazine. It's more about Sessions, if you can imagine that. If you go do a search on Google News for marijuana, the first thing you're going to find is about 20 stories about Jeff Sessions and people in reaction to Jeff Sessions. He has dominated the cannabis news since last Thursday. This story for Politico: did Jeff Sessions just increase the odds that Congress will make marijuana legal? Now, this is a really long story. You can go check it out. It's linked in the description, as all the stories are that I talk about on the Marijuana Time Show. The basic premise is this. We talked about this last week as well. Him coming out and doing this has caused a lot of politicians who may have been on the fence earlier about marijuana legalization at a federal level, members of Congress, members of the House and the Senate, people who may have been on the fence before are now coming out to say, look, I'm going to sponsor or I'm going to support this or that marijuana law reform measure in the U.S. Congress. It's making Congress focus on the fact that something needs to be done. We're going to write a memo, we're going to rescind the memo, and if a Democrat president takes over in January of 2021, maybe Oprah, according to the latest scuttlebutt, maybe Oprah's the next president of the United States, who knows? So say Oprah takes over in January 2021, and she says, you know what? The memo that he rescinded, we're going to bring that back. That's not a permanent solution to this in any way, shape, or form. Congress needs to do something. Even hardcore law and order conservatives who are against marijuana legalization, they're right when they say this is Congress's problem. Congress has to pass a law. They have to repeal marijuana prohibition. They have to remove marijuana from the Controlled Substances Act, not just Schedule 1, all of the schedules. It has to be removed from all of the schedules. And only Congress can do this. Presidents, can direct their Department of Justice to focus on other priorities and, write memos and then replace that with another memo and then rescind this memo. But we have another memo when there's a new president. None of that's going to work at all. The law has to be changed, and Congress has to do that. The time for the tweets and the talking and all the other stuff, all that's great. Raising awareness, that's fine. We're raising awareness. Hallelujah. But something more needs to be done. The law has to be changed. And that's what needs to happen. A lot of people are speculating that Jeff Sessions and what he's decided to do is going to change the law. He's going to force Congress and members of Congress to change the law. And in the long run, it'll be a good thing that happened. Whether or not that's true, well, we'll see, obviously, as time goes on. But it's a nice thought, at the very least. This last story is from ReviewJournal.com. Las Vegas marijuana shop donates 156,000 pounds of food to charity. One Las Vegas marijuana company may have found the perfect way to tap into the community's giving nature, offering discounts on weed. The Source, which has dispensaries in Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada, held a food drive promotion over the holidays that turned into the biggest such drive for 3 Square Food Bank for all of 2017, according to the charity. The Source expected to collect about 35,000 pounds through the drive, with the idea of building a canned food pyramid in the lobby. By the time the drive ended Christmas Eve, the Source had its pyramid and thousands of square feet of storage space filled up from floor to ceiling, thanks to customers donating more than 156,000 pounds of food for a 3 Square. Starting on December 13th, the store's 2 dispensaries offered a $2 in-store credit for each donation of a non-perishable food item. One customer donated 1,000 cans and walked out with $2,000 of credit. The store eventually capped the amount of credit customers could receive at $200, but the food drive continued to blossom. Quote, while we always knew that the cannabis community was a generous one, even we were astounded by the deluge of donations received from our customers, said Brian Wiegand, the Source's operations director. He said these donations will provide several thousand food insecure families in our community with the nutrition they so desperately need. These are the kind of stories that are great to have in the news, to show that, quote-unquote stoners aren't just interested in, sitting on the couch and eating Cheetos and playing video games. There are real people in the community who can be brought to bear. It's a resource that can be brought to bear to help the needy in a community. And that's what the Source proved in Las Vegas. So if you gave food out there, and congratulations to the Source too, because they, given discounts, they lost a lot of money to feed hungry people, and a lot of hungry people. 156,000 pounds. That's a lot. I don't know really what to compare it to. It's just, that's a lot of food. So congratulations to them, people out in Las Vegas, and other businesses. If you're listening to this and you read this story, something to think about. Help out your community. There's no better way to build goodwill in the community than things like this. So instead of dispensaries to be known as crime magnets or places where the hippies hang out or places where it smell like pot, what are the places that help their community? And they're a viable business in the community. That's going to do it for us, the Marijuana Times show for January 8th, 2018. As I said, in glorious HD. There's still some tweaking I have to do. The background, I think I gotta move the flag. I don't like where the flag is that I'm looking at it. I don't like that poster there. I don't like that. I changed those over there, which I have something to change. It's a whole big thing. It's a tough life. The video news program host. What is this? It's a video news program. A vlog? It's not a vlog. It's a podcast. It's a video podcast. A vodcast? Is that a word? Is it a vodcast? Did I just create that word? Did I just create that word live on the air? It's a vodcast. Marijuana Times show. Thanks, everybody. Go check out marijuanatimes.org, of course. And check out all the stories, check out these videos, share them. All of that stuff. Check out the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Search the Marijuana Times. Like, share these videos, whatever. Help us continue to spread the truth about cannabis through this show and through the news. Say we're still a new show, still finding our bearings, some technical issues we have to work on. I'll get to work on that. I'll be here all night if necessary, working on that for you. Thanks everybody for checking us out. Thanks to naturesideCannabis.com, organic, all natural pesticides, for being a great sponsor of the show. As of course, always, thanks to everybody who watches and tells other people about the show. You are going to be the reason the show either succeeds or fails. We want to get the information out there. We want to arm people with the information they need to fight for marijuana law reform. It's more important now than ever. As you know, keep it up. You keep it up, I'll keep it up. It's my promise to you. Thanks everybody for listening. The Marijuana Times show. We will see you next time.